Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual, however you may come. It is 58 degrees in South Florida. That's cold to me. I know that everybody in the Northeast, 19 degrees, 10 degrees. Probably right now it's probably 10 degrees where a lot of you all are. How you doing, Sister KT? I hope everything's well with you and family up in, I know. Just hope everything's well with you all. I didn't want to say, but anyway, I hope everything's well. It's cold here, you know. It's cold to me. I'm make sure my car temperature is up there. Friday night Bible study will be resuming. I'm so excited about Bible study resuming back on Friday night. So I can't wait till that takes place. Glad to be back home, glad to be back in town. I was off today, but I had to do a lot of stuff down at the church. We got a handicap ramp in, and I had to install it. We ordered it, and then do pressure cleaning, things that you just really have to do, you know, at least every several months. And so I got down there to do that. And, you know, what was strange was I kind of, you know, you get these intuitions, get up and go. Go down to the church in the neighborhood and eat breakfast at one of the local restaurants. And that's what I did today. And there was one member, I haven't seen her in a while, but she says, Pastor, I have to work. And I said, wow, you know, and I said, our prayers are with you that you're able to get off. And so it was great to see her. And but also I'm sitting there and I see this older gentleman walk in. I learned that he was 86 years old, and he walked in today. And when he walked in, I was shocked to see him. And the reason why I was shocked to see him, because I was told that he died. Like, I hadn't seen this gentleman like in over 5 years, 5, maybe 6 years. And so he walked into the restaurant, and I'm looking at him to see if it's him or maybe his brother or relative. And I looked at him, and he says, when I'm looking at him, and he says, yeah, it's me. You're looking at the right person. And I felt bad. I said, wow, Brother John. I said, for some reason, either somebody told me or I thought you had passed away. And he said, no, I'm still here. I'm 86, but I'm still here. But it was just good to see him, because the church property, one of the houses that we own, we bought it from him, from his family. We purchased it, and back in October, November, when I learned that the property, all of our property is paid off now, I said, I wonder where Brother John is. He would be happy to know. But then I recalled that somebody had told me he had passed, because like I said, I hadn't seen him in 5 years, and where his family was, because I actually purchased the house from his nephew. He ended up giving the property to his nephew, and we purchased it. And so it was just amazing. It was just amazing, because we actually purchased the house from him 15 years ago. 15 years ago. So It was amazing. So I had an opportunity to buy his breakfast, take him home. He showed me where he lived at, and I told him to come to the church every Sabbath and eat. I says, do not cook anymore on the Sabbath. We prepare food. It's, we always do little cold cuts because we don't cook on the Sabbath, but it's a good meal. It's a very good meal. So I told him, come and have food with us from now on every Sabbath. And so it was just good to do that. A lot of stuff is going on in the news. A lot of stuff. I've been trying to look at how you doing, Queen Cleo, Sister Monica, how you doing, Brother Kenneth, Sister Kelly, how you doing, Sister Laughter, how you doing? So we was in the neighborhood restaurant today, and I call it the neighborhood restaurant because it's sort of like where you haven't seen people in our church community. It's a community where everybody knows everybody. So when I walked in, everybody was like, hey, Pastor, we haven't seen you in a while, and that type of thing. Because I don't go there in the morning times during the week. But nonetheless, Donald Trump came up, President Trump. And so I told people, I said, let me explain something to you. As long as Donald Trump is in office, those people in the Middle East are afraid of the United States because they think he's crazy. And of course, some people do think that he's really crazy, but I said, this guy is not going to play. He's not going to play at all. And that's usually what happens when you have again, I'm not picking a party, but when you have a Republican president, Republican presidents tend to, their policy decision is very quick, rapid, and they like war. They just need a reason to go to war, in my opinion. Just historically, that's been the trend. You all don't remember, but back in 78 and 79, they took 52 hostages in Iran. Took 52 hostages. And they knew that Jimmy Carter pretty much was a president that was going to negotiate. He wanted peace. He didn't want to be drawn into war. So he was really trying to negotiate. Y'all remember Jesse Jackson went there trying to speak to Iran. But nonetheless, what happened was when Ronald Reagan got voted in it was in November of 79. He got sworn in January of 1980. When he got sworn in, the same day he was sworn in, they let those 52 hostages go. They let them go. In hindsight, they said they let them go because they felt like Reagan was a little crazy. He wasn't going to take much off of him, and so they let him go. So that was in that time. But you got to remember, it was during the Reagan era that they shot down the Airbus plane that had 290 passengers on it from Iran. And we said it was a mistake, is what we said. It was a mistake. I don't know how you mistakenly shoot down a passenger plane. My educated guess, there was somebody on that plane they had to take out. That's just, you know, you don't mistake. But Iran mistakenly, they claim, shot down the plane from, I believe it was Ukraine. They shot down their plane a couple weeks ago. And they said, oops, sorry, mistake. Um, you know, the casualties of war, it's crazy. And it's all about the oil. It's all about the oil. But I tell people, because a lot of people get the scare tactic thing going, you know, it's World War III. It's going down. It's going down. I tell people it's not going down. You got to understand the history between Iran and the United States. This thing goes back. Let me tell you this. This thing goes back to the early 1900s when Iran, Britain came in and started something. Iran started to produce oil. You know, they realized they had a lot of oil in their land, but they didn't have the means of extracting it. So Britain came in and started a Persian oil company. Check this out. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company. The name of the company. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company. But it was Britain. And what Britain said was to Iran, we're going to come in, we're going to use the technology, we're going to extract it, but over 50% of the profit went to Britain. Over 50% of the profit went to Britain. And Iran couldn't say yay, nay, or whatever, because if you don't have the means to extract it, what else can you do? So they took their 45, 48%, whatever it was, they took it gladly because they didn't have a choice. That oil company is called BP today. The BP stations, that used to be originally the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. Now, look at the word Persians. Persians. And who are the Medes? That's Russia. So the Medes and the Persians, all of that group is what took over Babylon. Okay? And it was the Greeks that defeated the Persians. It was Rome that defeated the Greeks. Just so you can know who the players are. You know, that's always important to know. And so you got three producers of oil over there. You got Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. And of course, as long as there's conflict, you can maintain control. But let me tell you this, because, you know, the question is, you know, where is that in prophecy? You always going to have wars and rumors of wars. What's happening is you got to watch the ecumenical movement that's taking place in May of 2020, when the Pope is calling all denominations together. He's doing that. That's going to be taking place. But look for it when Israel says to the Pope, you know, we want to provide a place for you out of the Holy Land. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So I just know it's going to happen. Y'all hold on just 1 second. Okay. So yeah, that's going to happen. There was something very important I was going to drop to you. Very important I was going to drop. And it was dealing with the United States and the oil. But anyway, let me get back, because maybe it'll come back to my mind. The phone rung and it distracted me. So you had the Medes and the Persians and all of that. So people want to know, where does the United States fall in with all of this? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Other than America is going to have its problems. That's where I was going at. The reason why America is having its problems is because what's happening in America is divine. What I mean by divine, America has to back out. America has to take a different role. America's global power has to subside. And what's happening in America is what America did in the Middle East so they can maintain control. And that was to always keep the area or the region divided. If you keep the region divided, you can control the region. Now, sometimes that may not make sense to anybody, but what you don't want to happen is Iraq and Iran to become one. You don't want that to happen. Because when that happens, you have a bigger area that's going to be larger than Saudi Arabia. And when they put their resource of oil together and operate as one, which they're not, there's no control. And so what's happening in America is divided. This country is more divided than I have ever seen in all of my days of understanding politics, and that's over the past 30 years. America is divided. It's as divided as I've ever seen it. And because it's divided, people can conquer what we had. People are not interested in the land of America. They're interested in the power of America. That's what they're interested in. And the power that America has, if you don't do what America says, they can put on sanctions. And that's how the new war is. So it's all about sanctions. It's not about the ground game. It's about sanctions. And it's calling sanctions and making people listen. And that's what America did to Iran. It was sanctions. You should wait and see if Israel, let me see. I'm going to come back to that, Sister K. This America being divided. The Republicans and the Democrats are divided. America is divided. It's so divided that people will not let you know who they're voting for. They won't let you know who they're voting. They won't even let you know if they are a Democrat or a Republican. That's how divided America is right now at this very moment. America is that divided. They're so divided that nobody knows who's voting for who. And that's a problem. It's great for Russia to know that. It's great for Iran to know that. It's good for China to know that. And the issue is that when this stuff like this goes on and nobody knows, America is divided. And when they're this divided, there's no consensus. There's no nothing. And I give you an example. The Democrat says to Donald Trump, you just killed Soleimani, the general, but you didn't tell us about it. And you took a drone and killed the guy. Now, the guy, you know, as far as terrorists, and you can do your own reading up on him. I did, because I'm second to the scriptures. I look at stuff like this. So the guy was a terrorist. He was responsible for most of your um, groups that got together and kind of did damage. That was him. He was behind that. So when they attacked the U.S. Embassy back around Christmas, their Christmas, not our Christmas, on Christmas Eve and all like that, they went in there and they attacked the U.S. Embassy. He was behind that. Iran was behind that. A lot of the stuff that you see, Iran's behind it, but they always use what we call proxy fighters. They do stuff, and Iran can always say, we didn't do it. When the oil fields in Saudi got all bombed and all like that, blown up, that was Iran. Iran did that. But they used somebody else to do it. So they said, we didn't do it. They did it. And they always had a group that claimed to do it. The thing is, the group that claimed to do it was given the weapons to do it, and they actually did it. It was probably set up by Soleimani, but they pushed the button. So, and then they can say, well, we didn't do it, they did it. And then when you look at the group that said that they did it, you don't want to believe that that group was the one that took the responsibility. But all together, it's Iran. All of that to say that if Donald Trump would have told Congress that, hey, we're going to have to take this guy out, we're going to take him out, Congress, being the Democrats, would have made it known. They would have made it known. That's just how divided we are. They're upset because he didn't tell them. And they know he doesn't trust them. And he can't trust them at all. You can't trust the Republicans. Republicans cannot trust the Democrats, and the Democrats cannot trust Republicans. That's how divided America is right now. So, but what Donald Trump leaves, how can I say it? He leaves, you know, when you playing football, back in the day, I was a quarterback in high school. And I wasn't a very good one, by the way, but I played. And one of the downfalls I had, they said I telegraph. I'm always looking at the receiver that I'm going to throw it to. And everybody follows me. And if I didn't release that ball quick, the guy either got tackled quick or he didn't catch it or there was an interception. They said because you telegraph what you're going to do. And in football, you got to look this direction, look that direction, and then you're really going to throw it over here, but you got to throw everybody off. I wasn't good at that. Donald Trump does not forecast, well, he forecasts what he's going to do. He does. He forecasts what he's going to do. The army that Soleimani was over was called the IQRC or ICQR, four-letter word. He declared them to be a terrorist group. That's what he declared them to be. And some of us didn't like, well, who is that group? Who is it? IQRC, is that? They're not ISIS, so who is that group? Nobody knew who they were. But I, just knowing the pattern of Donald Trump, he's telegraphing. He's getting ready to do something. If he calls you a terrorist in January, he's going to do something to you in March or April. That's what he's going to do. If he says some South American group has terrorists in there that can't be trusted, that means in a few months, everybody coming from that country, he's going to do something. Whether you cannot come to the United States, whatever. That's how he telegraphs what he's going to do. And you gotta look at what he says and not take it lightly. The problem is he tweets so much. I don't follow his tweets, but I go back and look at his tweets and I say, oh, okay, that's the group that he said a few months ago he was considering them. He's classifying them as a terrorist group. So that's how he operates. That's how he operates. So he couldn't tell anybody other than his tight-knit group that he was going to kill, or that he could not tell them he was going to take out Soleimani. He couldn't do it. And even the contract worker that was there, I mean, I'm gonna leave that alone. Leave that one alone. But anyway, they found a reason to take the guy out, and they did. Now, everybody went into arms. I mean, everybody in Britain, everybody in France, everybody all in Europe, Germany, everybody started to put their soldiers out. Even in the United States, they started, I mean, New York became tight. And nothing happened. Let me tell you this. Iran is not going to tell you when something happens, but you can always tell that it's Iran when they do it. They throw the rock and hide their hand, but they always do something to let you know, whether it's something significant to the date or the time. They always let you know that it was them. They always leave their DNA, if I can call it that. I'll give you an example. At 1:20, that general was killed. At 1:20 is when they bombed those barracks, okay? And don't think that America didn't know. They knew. That's why how you gonna have barracks at 1:20 a.m. and nobody else gets killed? Where's all the soldiers? They said, oh, they got enough warning. They were able to get out in time. Let me tell you something. When some missiles are coming, you ain't gonna get that kind of warning. No, you don't get that kind of warning. They had intel. And I would suspect that the intel, it was something that was already agreed upon. I really do. But listen, all that to say, you can't get all intertwined and tangled up and start to get the fear tactic and it's going down. It's going down. It's not going down, people. Let me tell you, it's not going down. The next big thing to happen is when the abomination of the desolation stands in that holy place. That's it. Other than that, you've been having this stuff go on for a long time. You've been having hostages taken. I'm going back to the 52 and 79, and then Reagan, under his regime, they bombed that plane. 288 passengers on it. 67 of them were kids. And they said, we're sorry. It was an accident. Iran just did the same thing. And you got to understand what Iran is doing. Iran is saying, oh, we're sorry, because America blew down a plane. And they said they're sorry. Iran just did the same thing. This is how these people think. This is how they think. This is how they operate. So they know exactly what they're doing. And it wasn't no accident. It's just they doing their thing. And they're going to say, let's come to the table and let's talk. And they're going to talk. They're going to talk. America's going to talk with Iran, and they're going to try to bring some they're going to put in some sanctions and stuff like that. And the group that everybody's worried about, which is China, should be the scariest. Right now, China needs to be very afraid right now. Right now, they need to be afraid. And let me tell you why. The third producer in oil in the world is Canada. Trump just entered into a trade agreement with, the third producer is Canada. Trump just entered into a trade agreement with Canada. Okay, they're the third producer of oil. Number one is, what's the country over there? Venezuela. That's number one. Iran is number two. Iran is number two. Canada is number three. And I'm going to check those stats. But that's what I read the other day. So you got to understand, America can get oil from Canada. Okay? Canada will be glad to sell oil. Because they're producing a lot of it. So my point is that here's why China has to worry. Because there is in between, now if you know demographics, where we're over in the Middle East, there's a little strait, they call it. It's like a little lake, river type of thing. This comes out of the ocean, and it goes in between. I'm going to say that's Iraq. Iraq is on one end of it, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iran, y'all remember about the ships, and Iran was going in there and taking over ships because Britain took over ship. That little strait right there, if Iran decides to shut that strait down, there's going to be a problem for China, because that's where most of the oil on ship comes from. 40% of China's oil comes from that strait. That's where it comes from that river or ocean or lakeway, whatever you want to call it. They call it a strait. That's where China gets most of its oil from. And if something happens in the Middle East over there, China is doomed, which is why China went over to Venezuela and loaned Venezuela money. And they loaned them money, and the collateral was their natural resources, their gold and their oil, which is why when America was trying to get Gaudio in at the back door, look who showed up. Russia and China and Turkey. Why? Because China has a loan to that country, and that natural resources is their asset. You cannot let the government fold, because if the government folds, the loan folds. And if the loan folds, your collateral is gone. Okay? So that's why Russia and China, who are like brothers and sisters now, that's why they went over there. And lo and behold, it was this time last year I said nothing's going to happen. And you know what? It's not because I was a prophet. It was just common sense. America wasn't going to do it. In fact, the guy John Bolton, who really was trying to get America to go in there and start the war, Trump fired him. And Trump fired him because he was trying to get America to go in and fight against Iran. Listen, you don't want to nobody wants to start a war right now. Nobody. Because they know once that war starts, the Middle East and Europe is going to come out on the short end of the stick. America can always, let me tell you what America will do. America will bring all of their troops home and say, you know what? We're just going to protect our assets at home. We're going to put all of our energy at home. And that's what they can do. And trade with China and Mexico, and they good. And that's the way it was before World War II, when Woodrow Wilson got brought into the war by the Rothschilds in exchange for Israel from Britain. That's how that World War II started, because Germany was going through taking over everything, and then Germany says, "Listen, we need to sit down. Let's renegotiate this thing, because all we're doing is killing each other." And Britain agreed to sit down at the table with Germany until the Rothschilds came in and told Britain, "You're losing the war. You're giving up." They said, "No, we're going to come back and we're going to renegotiate the treaty." And you know what the treaty was? It was all about Africa. It was all about Africa. So the Rothschild says, "No, I'm going to get America to come in and be on your side." And they did through Woodrow Wilson. And that's how Germany lost. And as a result, Britain had to agree to give Palestine to Israel, or to all of those people coming out of the Khazars, coming out of Ukraine and Poland. They had to give them the land, and they gave it to them. And then they went to the United Nations, and they beat Britain. After Britain gave it to them, they turned around and Britain said, "This is our colony." They fought Britain and won, and went to the United Nations, says, "We are our own country." And Israel, the United Nations says, "No, this has got to be a two-party state. It's got to be Palestine and Israel." But they accepted Israel's boundaries and gave it to them. For some reason, Israel split it. They gave the Gaza, the West Gaza Strip, they gave that to Palestine, and the eastern part, if you look at it, they gave that to Palestine. Actually, most of Jerusalem is in Palestine territory. Then over years, Israel kept taking more and more and more and more and more territory, and that war everybody knows about. It's still going on today. It's going to always go on. It's going to always, because you got two people in one land, and you got one people that did not belong there, but they came there because the Rothschilds was looking for a place for those that were Khazarian, who took on the Jewish, took on the Hebrew religion. And so that's what happened. And now that war is going to continue on. And what made it so bad, Syria, when the United States pulled out of Syria, Russia pulled in. And Israel could have flipped, like, "What are y'all doing? What are you doing? You leaving us wide open." But Israel don't realize, biblically, America has to pull out. It has to pull out because the army that's getting together to invade Israel, biblically, prophetically, it can't do it with America sitting there. So America is pulling out, and that's why Trump is going to be the next president. It's just that simple. He's going to be the next president because the Democrats will not pull out. Trump will pull out. He's pulling out. He's already doing it. But what Trump is doing, he's saying, "You know what? I'm not leaving people over here to fight." He thinks what he's doing is the right thing. He's simply just taking people out. I mean, he'll send a drone in on you and just take you out. He'll name you, he'll classify you as a terrorist and the group as a terrorist. And once he does that, that gives him his license 3 or 4, 5, 6 months later to go in and kill the organizers of those groups. And that's the divide and the conquer. That's what America has been doing. The issue is now, America is divided by divine order. It's divided. And we're weak. We're so weak, we don't even realize how weak we are. We're very weak. We're very weak because we have freedom of speech, freedom of press. Everybody in the whole world sees that. Sorry about that. Everybody in the whole world, I wasn't driving, by the way. I'm going to fix this for you all. So everybody sees, everybody sees that America is so divided that They all they got to do is watch CNN news, and they'll see America's divided. I mean, this is sad. This is sad that the condition that we're in, that the Republicans and the Democrats, there's no trust in Congress right now at all. And the impeachment process is a joke. The Senate, which is mostly Republicans who have been elected in that office, they're not going to impeach their candidate. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. But they think by tarnishing him that it will make people not vote for him. It's the opposite. That's how the Almighty works. It's just how he works. So they're waking up a base that's going to come out and surprise the world. There's not a Democrat that, as a candidate, we still have 15 people running for president. And we're less than a year away from the election. This is totally unheard of. I mean, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this. So we don't have a candidate. We do not have a candidate. We do not have a clear-cut candidate. They've got a candidate, and they, at all costs, they're not going to get rid of their president and lose the White House. The Republicans are not going to do that. So that's where we are. That's where we are. I like these talks. I hope that some of my dates and memories of who was in place at what time did that. I haven't taught in the political science structure in a few years now, but it's all interesting. All interesting. What's even more interesting is when you read the scriptures and you see the chess pieces moving around. Killing Soleimani is like, that's big. That's big. That hurt Iran. That really hurt Iran. But it had to happen so that America would be a country that is people are afraid of long enough that the right pieces can continue to get together. And that is, Israel has to have some sense of peace. That way the abomination of the desolation can go in and set up. And you're going to watch Russia and China, who appears to be dealing with America. They're going to flip-flop. They're going to flip-flop. And America at that time, because we're so divided, even the Democrats, even if Trump had to go to war and he told them he's not going to get the support. He's not going to get the support to do so. So that's where we are. So Monday night, Friday night Bible study. Of course, I'll be on again this week. Friday night is Bible study. We're going to be coming with a great subject, great topic. I think there's a very, very important discussion I want to bring to the table on Friday night. I've been thinking about how I want to lay it out, but it's a subject that it has to take place. It has to take place. I'll tell you more about it during the week, but I think it's a very interesting subject that we need to bring out on Friday night. Okay, so that's the angle that I'm going at so far. That being said and done, I want to say peace and shalom to all of you. I want to again say Brother Kenneth, Brother Mark P, Sister Kay, Dr. Chucky, Sister Martha, Brother Harold, how you doing? Brother Abraham, Brother Israel, how you doing? Sister KT had wrote something. I want to go back and look at that. She said, you were saying we should wait and see if Israel offers a place to the Pope outside of Rome. during the upcoming meeting in 2020. Yeah, they're going to, I don't know if they're going to offer it to him in 2020, but the relationship, the relationship, um, things have to take place. The way prophecy works, things have to, you have to see something to take place that would lead as a foundation to what needs to take place. So I think that once the Pope brings everybody to the table, it's just going to make Israel more comfortable to let him operate out of the Holy Land. All right, Sister Monica, Queen Cleo, Sister Kelly, all of you all, I want to just say peace. You all hit the like button for us. Um, if you don't mind, hit the like button for us over there, the thumbs up button, and we're going to crash up out of here. Peace in Jesus' name.